Joining us right now to talk a little Texas and national politics, the co-founder of MustReadTexas.com, GOP political strategist, Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Chad. Doing great. Good morning.
Thanks for coming on today. Let's start off by talking about, I guess, the biggest political news over the weekend. That was CPAC. What were your thoughts overall about the meeting over the weekend?
Yeah, I was there up in D.C. I thought it was a pretty good weekend for just about everybody. I mean, I don't think anyone had a bad, performance, bad speech. I think everybody did basically what they needed to do for the most part. I thought Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin was pretty strong. The comment he made about the unions and ISIS got a lot of attention, and he kind of clarified that a little bit over the weekend as well. But other than that, I thought he was pretty strong. He had a good, strong, second in the CPAC straw poll. I thought Jeb Bush, kind of went into the lion's den and really, stood strong on his views, particularly on immigration. And I thought that he did very well in that format of explaining his record as governor, his views, and, going into a situation that was a little bit uncomfortable and I think doing about as well as he could have done. But I think others did well too. I thought Perry did well. I thought Rubio did well. Ted Cruz is very good in that environment with that kind of crowd. So I think it just again, kind of puts a fine point on how strong and deep our field is with lots of smart, articulate conservative candidates. I mean, this thing is remains wide open. I think at this point.
I think there's a fear among some that if Jeb Bush is the nominee, you're going to see some of the Tea Party, some of the more conservative people stay home because they just don't agree with them. Some take the attitude of, well, there's no difference between Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. Just like there were some who took the attitude, and I vehemently disagreed, that there was no difference between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. How far apart really are the people who attended CPAC and Jeb Bush? How far apart are they in ideology?
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind there were 5,000 people there, so it's hard to sort of, describe, a group of 5,000 people that way. I think first of all, CPAC has a huge contingent of college kids, which I think is great because it brings in conservatives from colleges from all over the country. I think it's great to get them participating. There's obviously a lot of people from D.C. that go to CPAC. There are people from all over the country, but it's a very D.C.-heavy crowd. It's a very college-heavy crowd. But it's also a very conservative crowd. If you just look at the list of Republicans who've won that straw poll over the last, 10, 15 years, there are a lot of conservatives on there. And, the candidates that get the most raucous response are the candidates who are the most conservative. But you can also sort of organize a victory of the straw poll. I mean, if you bring enough people in. Yeah. And I think that's something that Ron Paul and Rand Paul have done successfully in the past. That's something others have done successfully also. In terms of your question, how far apart are they? Look, this was not a Jeb Bush crowd. I don't think, now there was some chatter that he brought some of his supporters from D.C. in on by a bus. If he did that, that was obviously pretty smart. Because he didn't want to have, boos and catcalls overcome his remarks and become a storyline coming out of there. But no, this is not a crowd that, look, Jeb Bush, I think, finished fourth in the CPAC straw poll with 8%. This is not his crowd, but I do think he did some good for himself, at CPAC, particularly because he was able to really detail, his record as governor and the conservative things he did as governor. Whether there was any affirmative action, passing school vouchers, being, one of the strongest pro-life governors. And there were lots of things, all the spending vetoes, all the tax cuts. There are lots of things in his record that probably your average grassroots activist may not know all the details about his 8 years as governor of Florida.
Yeah, and he's still quite popular down in Florida as well. Let's shift to take a look at a little bit of Texas politics. I believe it was on Friday, you had an email that went out from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's office about a press conference, I guess, today dealing with Medicaid. And a lot of people wondering what this is all about. What information do we have on this press conference?
Not much. Not much right now. This is something I think he's going to do with Charles Schwartner, who's the Senate HHS Senate Health Committee chairman. I think some other senators will be there as well. I kind of have two minds on this. I think, number one, I have difficulty seeing a Medicaid expansion get through the very conservative Texas Senate if that's what they're doing. On the other hand, there is a huge block of funds from the federal government that is, being untapped at this point.
Right.
And so if they were able to sort of do a, let's say, Texas Solution style program, that of course, again, the feds would have to approve, they would be able to get access to those, billions of dollars. So remains to be seen exactly what the specifics are. This could be just more of a, calling on a block grant to the states of the funds kind of idea. One of the words in the press advisory was flexibility. So makes me think maybe they just want to change the way the program works currently, but there are a lot of people going to watch this pretty closely. Yeah,
absolutely. And it would be something if you had Dan, especially Dan Patrick, doing something that would expand Medicaid in the state after he and a lot of other conservatives really railed against that idea in the past.
Absolutely. I think, again, the number of states that haven't expanded Medicaid is dropping all the time. These different states are coming up with their own solutions. Legislatures are changing, or new governors are coming in, et cetera. Texas has definitely held out so far, and again, this is if they were to do that, it would be, I think, unpopular with the base, but we got to wait and see exactly what the specifics are. Visiting with
Matt Mackowiak, GOP political strategist, also co-founder of MustReadTexas.com. Before I let you go, I wanted to get just your quick thoughts on this, the whole idea behind property tax cuts that are out there being floated by both the governor and the lieutenant governor. A lot of local leaders all around the state who are upset at this because, well, it'd be possibly taking away property tax income away from the cities. How do you see this back and forth developing as we go through the legislative session?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I want to say there's an idea out there to help reimburse cities if they lose funding because of property tax cuts. I think it's less about reducing the rate of property taxes and more about reducing the increases in the future. I think that's really what they're trying to do more than anything else. And of course, property taxes aren't set at the state level; they're set at the local level. Right. And so there's a little bit of a question of whether the legislature can truly deal with this. But I totally understand why counties and local governments are concerned about this. Exactly what form the property tax cuts will take, I think, still is very much up in the air.
Matt, tell folks what they can find on MustReadTexas.com today.
Yeah, the top news about the legislature, 2016, all in one place, MustReadTexas.com. Lots of news about Perry and Cruz, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of news this week about the legislature. You can follow it all on the website, MustReadTexas.com.
All right. Matt Mackowiak, as always, appreciate you, and also want to remind folks to follow you on Twitter at Matt Mackowiak. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Chad. Have a great week.
You too. It's Matt Mackowiak.